Evening, everyone. This is our regularly scheduled meeting, this January 13 of 2021. Happy to, I'm sorry, 2022. Boy, I bet I wrote some checks today at 2000.
Everybody does that.
Oh, boy. I hope none were to the IRS. We'll find out. In any event, good evening, everyone, and thank you for correcting me, Mr. Igo. This is 2022, and aren't we happy being here? So we have a script that we're required to read tonight because it's both a mixed in-person and Zoom format tonight. My name is Steve DeYoung. I'm the chairman of the Yarmouth Zoning Board of Appeals. We will now convene the January 13 meeting of the Yarmouth Zoning Board of Appeals. As required by General Law 30A, Sections 18 through 25, and pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, the public are able to attend this meeting either in person or via the alternative public access. Members of the public may watch the meeting live on Channel 18 or watch and/or participate in the meeting hosted in Zoom. The meeting notice provides necessary instructions to join the meeting via Zoom. Please note the audio, video, and screen sharing functions will be disabled for all attendees. You may request to participate by raising your hand. Hello, everyone. So we have some matters on our agenda tonight, and we're going to start with the first right away, and that is a continued hearing. That hearing is petition 4915, a hearing continued from September 9 and October 14. The petitioner is Jane Barrow Tedeboat. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And if not, I apologize. Is the petitioner here? Are the petitioner's representative?
John Kenny is representing, but I believe there is a request in for continuance. I'm Dan Ojo.
Okay, yes, I think that's right. Yeah.
Tadaway is the pronunciation. It's a tough one.
Yeah, I think everybody is aware of John's letter for continuance,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
I don't think we have to go into it with any kind of depth. So I'm glad you're here, Ken. Thank you. Good to see you as always. I'm sorry.
Dan.
Did I say chairman to this board?
I heard Dan, but that's
Yeah,
okay.
okay. When did they want to continue to? April 14?
Yeah, that should be enough time. They've had some family matters, very serious. So
Is that still the right date for them?
let's go with that and we'll continue if we have to. Thank you.
All right. Well, I think everybody here is pretty sympathetic.
For us.
You want to do a motion, somebody?
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Mr. Igo. Thank you, Mr. Frapery. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. That carries unanimously. Ken.
See how fast this is going?
I must be having a COVID moment too. To 4/14/22. That sounds so far away. Next is a continued hearing from September 23, 2021, October 28, 2021. That is petition 4917, Urology Associates of Cape Cod for the split zone property located at 125 to 133 Main Street, Yarmouthport, Massachusetts. This property is in, I can't tell the zone from here, but we'll get to it when we get in the substance of it.
I think it's in the B1.
The applicant is seeking special permits and variances to redevelop the land by renovating the existing historic commercial primary building for use as a medical office and replacing a pre-existing non-conforming garage building for related office use. Relief is requested under and from respectfully sections 104.3.2.3, 202.5, and 301. As necessary to alter, change, and extend a pre-existing non-conforming building and site conditions and various uses and design requirements, and to expand rear parking previously authorized in the, here we go, R40 zoning district. Good evening. And who's presenting tonight?
Good evening. I'm Marion Rose. I'm here from Singer & Singer on behalf of the applicant.
Very good. Well, why don't you go right ahead with your petition?
Certainly. I represent Urology Associates of Cape Cod who are under contract to purchase 125 and 123 Route 6 in Yarmouthport, and in support of their application to redevelop the site. Dan Ojala of Down Cape and Roger Brooks of Cape Wide Construction are here. And I believe that Evan Cohen is here remotely, and he is the business manager for Urology Associates. Urology Associates hopes through this purchase and redevelopment to consolidate its medical practice here in Yarmouthport. Essentially, it's a preservation project. The focus is using the primary building, which has a nearly 8,000 square foot footprint, to see and treat patients. But they want to do so by restoring and rehabilitating and using what's there. It's in the main a historic building from 1925. There's been a significant amount of planning involved, and there's a sincere effort to make a quality redevelopment and the intent to be a good neighbor. This is shown in the designs and the details. Replacing the street-facing brick stairs with granite, replacing rotten wooden railings with iron railings, returning the front facade to what it might have looked like in years past. Shown in the scope of renovation, when you see the site plan, I'll try to flag some of the major points. But one of the major points I do want to emphasize first is that the footprint of the primary structure will remain unchanged. When you look at the front of this building from the site plan and the parking in the front, I wanted to flag a few things. The entrance, as I've said, is restored. The prior additions on the side of the side ramps and the stairs will be removed. The landscape buffers in front of 125 and 133 will be enlarged and enhanced with additional landscaping. Enlarging the buffers will in turn help to remove one of the curb cuts in the island. So there'll be one single curb cut on this property, which will direct traffic to the rear of the building and the primary parking at the rear. When you look on the side of the site plan towards North Sandy Side Lane, you'll see a couple of things of note. Plan is to remove the drive-through window and the overhang, to enlarge and enhance the landscaping around the primary building and around 133 Route 6A. Of true significance is the fact that the parking, which is within the setback, will be removed away from Sandy Side Lane. There's 6 spots there that are non-conforming now, and those will be made conforming. Also, 6 more trees will be added as screening to an already significant screening on Sandy Side Lane to buffer against the properties that are residential. When you look towards the rear of the primary building, the area that's recently been rezoned from residential to commercial, you'll see that the plan is to create a main entrance to the primary building for staff and patients. The plan also includes renovating the garage and turning it into a manager's office, which would be no more non-conforming rather than at present. Also, a redesign of the parking area to include in-lot trees and landscape buffers. Here, it's significant in the buffers to the properties, to the abutters. There are going to be 25 trees on the Sandy side in addition to the ones noted above. 20 additional trees to the rear of the parking area and 12 on the Cape Cod Coop side. Also, 18 new parking spots will be needed, plus 4 handicap spots will be added to the existing 38 spots in the rear.
Excuse me. Please, there's a meeting going on. Please go ahead.
Thank you. The 4 spots to the rear will be no closer than the existing spots. And finally, on the coop side, in addition to adding this 18 spots that we mentioned earlier, there would be 10 feet away from the buffer to the coop. The rear part of the coop lot is a lot like what our lot was previously zoned. It's residential, but it's clearly used for commercial parking and has been for years. Also in the coop lot, we'll be constructing a ramp for accessibility to a side entrance so that the patients who need to be transported by gurney on a non-emergency transport basis can be brought into the primary building with additional care and privacy. There are some general comments about the plan. Lighting. It's designed again with care. We can go into detail if there are questions, but I wanted to emphasize that the lights, the exterior lights that are shown on the light plan as A, B, and C they'll be turned on with a seasonal timer and be turned off at 9 o'clock each night. The lighting plan that's noted in orange, the lights around the primary building will also be on a seasonal timer. They'll be turned off by 11. Inside, there will be some lights left on for safety, but with the exterior lights, they've been designed for 0 light trespass. So there should not be light going off the site. There's solar on the roof. There are electrical vehicle charging stations. And it goes without saying that the windows, the siding, and the trim will be thoroughly and appropriately updated and replaced as needed. The project has gone through site plan review and Old Kings Highway review. And as I've mentioned before, the zoning bylaw changed the zoning for the rear parking area from residential R40 to B1. So the entire lot, after the Attorney General approves the bylaw change, will be zoned B1. With the bylaw change, there would be no relief needed for the parking use in the rear lot. Where the parking is placed is what's at issue. We'd argue that the 4 spots in the rear, for those, the use was allowed by a variance back in the 60s. But the location, conforming, we believe at the time, and now pre-existing non-conforming as to the 10-foot buffer, is what we have at present. The extension of the parking by 4 spots, no closer than existing, no more detrimental to the neighborhood, particularly given the landscaping. Similarly, we'd argue that for the row of parking abutting the coop, you can look at the parking at the front of the building, and you can see that along the front parking, there's literally no buffer between that and the coop's lot next door. So again, we'd argue that an argument can be made that the parking proposed is no more detrimental than the existing, particularly because it meets the requirement for a buffer if the coop lot was zoned for what it's used for, business. If you all are satisfied with the special permit argument that I've just made or would like to delve into that further, I'd be happy to do so. But if you'd like me to go ahead into the variance argument, I can do that as well.
I think you should present it any way you want.
Certainly, okay. So if the board believes that a variance is necessary for the additional parking, we believe that this project meets the 4-point variance test. It's clear that a literal enforcement would create a hardship for the applicant. There's no other location on the site to add additional parking. Adding this parking necessary for the smooth functioning of this business and the economical use of this rather large historical building is necessary. An earlier board in 1960s granted a variance for additional parking for the Boston Bank. It noted the growth of the bank makes it necessary for additional parking to adequately serve the public. The allowed medical use requires more parking than exists on the property today. Not allowing the expansion of parking necessary for the applicant's medical use, we believe would create a hardship. The hardship is connected to the shape and the topography of land, and more significantly, the structure on site. And it's not generally affecting the B1 zoning district. Here, the hardship relates to the primary structure's size and the unique historical nature, and to an extent, its placement on an untypically shaped lot. The primary structure is both large, as I've said, its footprint is over 7,000 square feet, with a floor area of over 10,000 square feet. The viable economic uses of such a building are limited. It's not economically viable to save the structure absent parking adequate for a use, this medical office use, which makes saving the structure a viable option. It's unique, this issue is unique to this lot and not others in the district. Finally, relief can be granted without either substantial detriment to the public good or nullifying or substantially derogating the intent or purpose of this bylaw. First, town meeting affirmed through the change in the zoning district, the commercial parking as a use necessary to the main structure. The public good will be served by the preservation of the facade, the improvement of the traffic flow, providing local access to medical treatment, introducing a commercial entity to Yarmouth's tax base, improved, enhanced buffers surrounding the site, converting side parking areas near properties that are actually used as residential properties to conforming spaces with conforming buffers, and carefully designed lighting, which is less intrusive than what's existing. All of these are reasons to support this application for a variance. They're net improvements to the public good rather than a detriment. That concludes my variance argument. I'd like to move ahead to the argument for a special permit for the conversion of for the replacement of the garage as a special permit. The special permit is needed for the replacement and expansion of the pre-existing garage to a new structure, no more non-conforming, with an ancillary medical office management use. This is grantable by special permit, and we respectfully submit that the proposal complies with the special permit criteria. It's not more detrimental or non-conforming than what's existing, and will be of benefit to the community, and that strict enforcement of the bylaw would create an undue hardship. Here, the proposed replacement structure would be built no closer than the existing non-conforming structure to the west side setback, and the expanded portion will not create a new nonconformity, and that it will be built within the building envelope as defined by the current bylaw. We believe there'll be no negative impacts to drainage, septic flow, or stormwater, which will be confirmed by the future approval of the stormwater management permit. We can get into that in a bit. The proposal will not cause or contribute to any undue nuisance, hazard, or congestion in the neighborhood, the zoning district, or town. And the property will be an asset to the character of the neighborhood and the town, and provide a viable commercial activity limited to reasonable hours and quiet use. For all of the above reasons, the applicant respectfully requests that the Board of Appeals make findings that the proposal satisfies the criteria of the zoning bylaw and grant a variance if needed, or a special permit as applicable, and a special permit as necessary to approve the project as proposed on the plan submitted to the board. Thank you, and
Thank you. I bet you dollars to donuts, board members are gonna have some questions.
I
Let's
bet
get 'em
they are.
started.
Okay.
Start with Mr. Martin, always thoughtful in these things.
Um, First of all, I'm very happy to see the building, retained and repaired and doing the changes and so forth that is relevant to the drive-through and all that kind of thing, that which will make it more in keeping and apparently is acceptable to the historic district as well. I have no problem with retaining the parking in front. We're getting rid of a curb cut here. Some of the issues I do have again are, and I think, well, one of the things is just the number of parking spaces. It's already a huge parking lot. And, and now we're going up to 92 spaces. I mean, I counted the spaces at the present urology office in Hyannis, and there's 14 spaces.
Right.
And granted, that's not enough. I know they need more. And, but I'm concerned as to why in this, yes, it's a limited business zone, village business zone. The building's there. Most of that's already been there by Board of Appeals action sometime, in some cases in the past. But we're taking probably the biggest use in that village area and making it bigger, at least in terms of parking and occupancy, I suspect. So, I think it needs some toning down in terms of the amount of parking spaces. I can't imagine why you'd need 92 parking spaces. And I think in this case, with 2 residential abutters and changing the zoning, they originally had some extra protection with the residential zoning as part of the site. They will no longer have that with the rezoning. I think that buffer needs to be meeting what I think is our required now between a business zone and a residential zone. The buffer is supposed to be 20 feet, and we don't have that. And it doesn't take too much to get it. You're almost there. You move the spaces back a little and cut a couple spaces off the sides, and you've got it. I can't see you losing more than 4 spaces to provide a proper buffer in the back. Now, there's also the buffer on the side, but that's already non-conforming, relevant to where that parking exists there now. So I have less problem with that. I would like to see more trees. I would have liked to seen a little give and take in terms of whoever did the, I don't know, what does that do? The engineering and so forth. I mean, I'm one to say, when you take a site like this, try and work around the existing landscape. There's a beautiful mature holly tree, for instance, in the back there, which is obviously going to be mowed down when an island could have been presented to preserve that, existing large tree. Same thing with over on the westerly side toward the bank. These are terrible, aren't they?
I know.
We're again allowing only 10 feet there. Luckily, the bank has a better buffer, but there's some pretty good trees along there, and apparently they're going to be mowed down as well. I just think more could have been given based on the size of this, the scope of this project, which is a good project, but the scope of it, and to have that much parking that either requires additional relief for setbacks or provides only the minimum required setback is inadequate. I mean, that's my opinion. The other, the style and what you're doing with the building, the use of the building, I'd like to see it used for something. I know it could be used for a lot of worse things. It could be used for, a great big grocery store or God knows what. And so I think this is a good use. It's, as far as I know, Monday to Friday, normal work hours. I know one of the letters from a butter or near a butter was talking about it being 24/7 and ambulances coming and going. And I don't believe that's the case at all, right? And so I think, but I do think a little more thought could be given to different additional planting and saving more that's there and cutting down on the parking space.
If I could,
Essentially, the area of buffer that's being shown is already really on the adjacent property, which is the Sandy Side little piece there, strip that goes along Sandy Side Lane. That's all on their property, and it seems like there's going to be very little, if anything, put on this property, which would be another problem. Also, at least one of the islands, I think, according to Kathy, was situated over the septic system. And there were trees to be planted there, and then, then we get the excuse, oh, we can't plant trees there because the septic system's there. So the septic system needs to be moved onto the pavement so it does not affect the landscaping allowances within those islands. I probably have other things, but I've probably talked enough for the moment, but those are my concerns. I don't think it takes a whole lot to, at least in terms of the site development here, to make it work and to give as much buffering to the two residential neighbors as possible. I think what's being provided here now is not adequate.
If I could address, I didn't address the operations, what to expect on the site in terms of everyday use. And I could go into that. But one of the main reasons Urological Associates wants to move is that the parking is woefully inadequate in Hyannis.
Yep.
And these, they do have a busy practice.
14 to
It's-
92 seems like
Right.
big
It's a
change.
steady, busy practice, but they're going to have between 3 and 7 doctors there each day. They can have between 60 and 100 patients each day. Again, 100 people are not going to be going out at the same time. It's, orderly appointments. It will just be, going through the day as a steady practice. They'll have 9 scheduled, well, about 20 to 22 employees as well. So that,
And it all comes into my whole thought process is this is a pretty busy use of this site, on a historic
not-
road in a historic district. And there'll be a lot of coming and going.
Right.
And,
It
there's
will
a lot
be
of coming and
steady.
going on 6A anyways. But I think as much latitude needs to be given to the neighbors as is all possible here, because it is a very busy use.
Right. I will say also, and if I can't tell if Evan is actually has logged in or not. He is. Okay, perfect. If he can raise his hand and chime in on this, but he did talk to the to the residents in abutting the rear parking. He met with 2 of them personally and left a card for a third. And they were all supportive of the parking. And probably you should hear this from him directly rather than from me.
Okay.
But he did talk to them. The biggest concern was the lighting in the parking lots, and that was addressed. And they were happy with the buffers. They were happy with the landscaping plantings. And
So lighting is all to be off by 11 o'clock, you said? Everywhere?
that's everywhere.
Okay, and in the
Yes.
back, that would be earlier.
Earlier
Okay.
in the back. Right. It's my understanding now that I haven't gone there at
Yeah.
11 o'clock at night, but I think it's on now. So I think it's an improvement.
Okay, thank you.
I do
Mr.
believe we have Evan Cohen who can speak.
Well, he can come in when the board has finished their questions, okay?
Okay.
Sean, you have any questions on the
I
petition?
do, yes. Good evening.
Hi.
How are you? What are the hours of operation?
Sure. The hours of operation, it's Monday through Friday,
Mhm.
8:30 to 4:30 on Monday through Thursday. And on Friday, it's generally 9 to 4:30. They have typically 3 doctors there on Friday, and they might have 5 doctors there earlier in the week. So Friday is a less busy day generally.
Okay, all right.
Some of the schedulers and other people may come in earlier, but the patients start coming 8:30 to 4:30.
Would you mind repeating that again, just
Certainly, 8:30 to 4:30
Monday through Thursday?
Monday through Thursday, and 9 to 4:30 on Friday, with a fewer doctors present on Friday.
Nothing on the weekend?
Nothing on the weekends.
Mr. Igo?
And the lighting, is that going to be no trespass lighting that does not
Correct,
permeate off the site?
correct.
Are you planning on using, and I see these in a lot of the newer parking areas. And it's like a 16 tall foot light. It's square and it's LED and it faces down. It's pretty mild, but it gives out decent light.
Yeah, Roger Brooks from Cape Wide Construction. We've submitted a photometric plan and there's actually in the bottom left corner of the page, There's a couple of elevations of the light fixtures we're proposing.
Can you give me the page that you're referring to? with the-
It's a separate page. It's an 11 by 17 page.
Oh, okay, thanks, yeah, thanks.
Here's the-
Okay. And
So
I,
the areas outlined in blue
Mhm.
are the parking area A and B, the front and the east side.
Excuse me.
And in the rear, we're using a post with 2 lights. And we did that in the center to keep all the light focused right in the middle of the parking area. The building mounted lights, their light spread is shown in orange. And those are the ones that'll stay on until 11 o'clock, just to give some perimeter lighting around the building. And then at 11, so areas A, B, and C will go off at 9 o'clock. They'll come on a photo cell seasonally adjusted, and those will all go off at 9 o'clock. And the ones in orange on the building will go off by 11.
Okay, okay. And I'm looking at this drawing right here that has the colors on it. I'm looking specifically at the green. Does that signify sod or grass?
Almost always, but it could be areas where Dan Ojala from Down Cape Engineering. So generally it'd be a pervious landscape type area. Underneath the bushes on the south, for instance, it'd be a darker green, but we didn't model that where there's a bunch of arborvitaes already. But in general, it would be a lawn landscape area.
Okay, so other than where the plantings are, this area is represented will be grass.
Correct.
Okay. Now, well, I'm not, I guess I'm gonna save that question. That may be all that I have right now. I have some other questions, but I'm gonna hold off on those for a little while, Mr. Chairman, so
Sure,
I'm good for now. Thank you.
sure, thank you. And you, Mr. Fraper, do you have any questions of our petitioner?
Well, first of all, I do think it's a nice plan, and, but, you know, there are just trying to take into consideration the village area as well as the neighbors. So just curious, why would they stay on until 9 o'clock at night, the lights, if you're closing at 4:30 in the back and things like that? Just curious.
If somebody were to drive into the parking lot, that's so that there's light on for safety. They can navigate without clipping a curb or driving over an island.
Could have janitorial staff in there and, maybe a, groundskeeper, something late,
Mhm.
just tidying up.
And they need to get all the way into the back. I'm just thinking about those back lights. That's what I'm just.
The back is the
asking.
main primary, that's the entrance. And so, even the people there who are cleaning up and all, they would be going through that entrance.
Yeah, okay.
And I would point out too, that it's zero cutoff at the lot lines. So those light poles in the middle do a nice job. The LEDs have directional. They're not as bad as the old ones that would spray the light there. They
So the-
focus the beam down.
The light
And it
spread
goes-
is, the light spread is actually just like what you drew on the lighting plan. Is that
It's
how? it works
very
pretty much?
close, yeah. And then it does go down to, there's 0.4, with less than half a foot candle and pretty much 0 or 0.1 at the edges. And then in addition to the big 6-foot fence that's along that eastern lot line, we're introducing a new row of arborvitaes, which if you saw out there or swing by the site, there are quite a few already there. We're infilling where they don't exist. So we feel that'll provide a nice living screen that will actually grow in time and darken that line up even more.
Yeah, I think the whole front of the facility, taking away the extra cut and things like that, all looks really good. It's just the tightness with which you're putting the parking in the back, which is a little concern. It's almost like, to Mr. Martin's point, if you just back it off, even the back line, just back off one space on each side and pulled it in, it would be within range, you only lose 2 spaces.
Yeah, I think to Mr. Martin and your point, I think, and in talking with the applicant, we're very comfortable to move that rear line another 10 feet to the north. And that would provide in excess of 20 feet in the back. So it would actually remove that, if it is a variance, would remove that from the table and
Okay.
would probably make it your folks' decision a lot easier. And, they do want to be, once bitten, twice shy. They do not want to be short on parking here.
I understand.
And,
yeah.
they do have training and some other sessions, but we'll move that. We'll go ahead and as a condition, if you see so fit to approve, or if you'd like to see a revised plan, but it's a pretty simple edit to just slide that southernmost island 10 feet to the north, would lose 2 on either side and 2 in the middle, so 4 spaces, but we're still adequately parked. And I think that's a great suggestion. And to the extent that we can leave those spaces, as Mr. Martin mentioned, on the east, the line is already there. We're not moving it 1 inch. Plus, we're introducing a new row of arborvitae's. So if we could leave that, we sure would be appreciative, but we'll certainly
Yeah,
listen to
I
that.
mean, that's already kind of in the variance, so it's
Mhm.
kind of not any worse than it is now, so. And the other side is the bank, so I'm not so concerned about the bank and the other side, but the north, and it would have been nice to be able to put a little bit more buffer on that one in the back parking between the neighbor, but it's what it is today too. Is there lighting in the back of it today, back of the parking lot today? There is?
Yes.
It fell over the other day, but yeah, it's,
Well, yeah.
yeah.
And you mentioned that there's electric charging stations, which I think electric car charging?
For cars.
Where are those?
They're by the garage. What's existing is the garage now. They're,
They're marked EV. They're
Right.
on the easterly side,
Westerly.
westerly side.
Oh.
No, you'll see it on the other.
Right near the.
You can see it on
dumpster
this one right here. Jay? Oh, okay. They're right up in there.
Oh, okay.
How many are there?
pad. There's 2.
Okay, yeah, I see.
They can put some more in.
There may well be some conduit laid for future. Yeah, it's a good point. They're coming.
So they're in the back. They won't cause any problem in the front.
Correct.
As far as causing. I think that's all the questions I have right now. Thank you.
thank you.
So I'd like to know, why is it the garage needs to be altered at all? I look at this building, which is a massive building, and you look at what you're crowding into it, 8 exam rooms, right? And every square inch is taken up, and I think that's laudable. But there seems to be plenty of storage in there. What would be the storage that would need to be, would require the extension of the garage?
It's going to be Evan Cohen's, the management office for him for the medical practice. And so I think, and again, he could speak to this when allowed, but I think there's a benefit to him of being close but separate from the practice. And because it's no more non-conforming, we're hoping to secure that relief.
Okay.
So Dan from Downkeep. So just running a business myself, you can close the door to your office, but people can still hear you. So here you get the manager out with a little bit extra privacy. If he's got a personnel matter that's private, they can pull him in, have a discussion and not have it kind of spread around the office. So just a thought, but it is a nice little private area for him.
So probably most of your clientele are gonna be men my age, so, the one in Hyannis is always overflowing. Always overflowing, and I applaud you for looking to a new location. I'm gonna echo what I heard Mr. Martin say, which is there could be a much more intensive use of this site by some other business. But I'm just completely struck by a need to increase the size of this already very large parking lot. And I just don't get it. I don't get why we're now taking buffers down to what I think is the 10 feet. Is that 10 feet?
Mm-hmm.
Less. You don't have all those existing trees, that's for sure. So, the tree line isn't gonna be as nice and neat as you see. We're not gonna put arborvitae's there, I hope.
No, those will be nice street trees, the 3-inch caliper. And so the net number of trees will go up a bit. For whatever reason, that's kind of an open field right now. There are, to Dick's point, I think there's one specimen holly in there. I believe it's going to be right in the middle of the travel lane, or I'd volunteer to save it. But how parking bays lay out, the 60-60, and if the tree is in that travel lane, it's very hard to work around it. But it'll be nice. I think it'll blend well. The lot to the west does have a little bit bigger buffer. There's some large shade trees which will cast shadows. If you look at the aerial, I think it'll blend fairly well. But, they did ask us that, please, can we have a good amount, like the 99, they put in more parking probably than they'd ever need, but, occasionally they use it and, it's, I think where we're getting rid of all the relief in the back on the south side, and on the east is already existing. And then again, North Sandy side, we're pulling it way back. Again, you want some spaces pretty proximate to that door so people don't have to walk a long way, and the entrance being in the back. Now we need that. The parking in the front isn't going to be particularly useful anymore, but it's still, very, I know like the art shows and stuff, and people like to park in there, and they'll still be able to do that with the island and so forth in the summer. We're making that bigger for that area, but
What's the minimum parking requirement? Minimum load.
so it does depend on the square footage, but minimum would be, probably 16 or so less than we have, if I had to guess.
Than you have currently, or than you have? than
We
you're
have,
proposing?
we have excess from what we get with a straight calculation per the code, yeah.
Currently.
Right now, as proposed, we've got probably an extra 16 or so, yeah.
As proposed, not. what's-
Yeah,
Not
yeah, as
existing.
proposed, existing, oh, yeah.
If it's built out to the way you'd like to see it, there would be 16 more than currently.
Yeah,
required.
and now we've conceded 4, so perhaps 12.
And with the limited hours of operation, I mean, I know, I just spoke to the busy parking lot in Hyannis. But that's because there is a small parking lot, and it's a very tough corner there. So what I'm more interested in is then how do you anticipate a need for 92 total spaces? I mean, do you ever anticipate the parking lot's going to be full?
So what I would say is that they want to be absolutely sure. They have a ton of employees that work in here. There's the secretarial, it's just so much paperwork that goes with the medical office. There's just, the very nature is there's just a ton of employees. The doctors are there. If they get backed up, the patients can queue up. And, I think too, they're smart people, they're doctors, and they're just looking to the future and say, if we decide to expand, let's not be short-sighted here. Let's make sure we have, adequate parking. And where it's in the back and we're greening up the front, they were hopeful just to introduce this and hopefully that would be well received. But we're certainly open to input.
Have you detailed anywhere a landscape schedule, tree schedule,
The graphically shown on the plan are,
size?
yes, absolutely.
type.
3-inch caliper, white pears are equal on all the big trees. The Leland cypresses are called out. They're all 5-foot high minimum at time of planting, actually, 6-footers. And then the 3-gallon shrubs, they do a nice job if you go around to their sites with the landscaping. Evan is very particular and it'll look nice. What we've introduced here is, kind of the minimum, but I would think they'd do a little more than this even. It's a great group of doctors.
Well, the way they're grouped, it almost looks like there's going to be 2 sides of this back parking lot with rows of arborvitaes. Is that what's intended?
Well, there's canopy trees that go over those that are on the neighbor's side. If you look at the first sheet, so those aren't going to go anywhere. But these will be some, fairly shade tolerant evergreens, infilling that understory. So that's the east side. The central, you've got 8, pear trees. Around the perimeter, you've got a couple more. And on the south side, it's a full canopy forest. There's a barn that's in maybe 40 or 50 feet, and it's just all rough and, very natural and beautiful back there. But on our side, we'll line that row so that it will, help screen, views of the lot or anything off season. And then on the west side, of course, the 20-foot on center buffer trees that will just kind of break up that island. And there are some specimen trees on the Coop lot. I believe they got a variance for that parking. I was looking through our files 30 years ago. The board saw to, have all that parking go back there. But
you're
there's some
looking to
very
expand.
mature trees.
Looking to expand it.
Yes, well, on their side,
Or is it no concept?
I was referring to they have a very large parking field, pretty much, but that was the variance back there. On our side, there was a variance, but it was only 1 row.
Mhm. Yeah, sometimes we like to take mistakes of yesteryear and correct them. All right, so a few more questions I have. Where's your site water, your storm water at this point?
So at this point, we've filed for the stormwater permit. We received a round of comments. We responded to those, and then there's quite a bit of information requested. There's the supplemental report. They're still reviewing it. I'm very confident that they will find that it fully meets their recommendations. To the extent that the local conservation commission would have to vary anything, I feel confident that they would. It's a functional site now. The next door is a functional site. It all works well. I don't see any big surprises, but there was a lot of, illicit discharge compliance statements. There's a lot of little paperwork that had to been done. And so they're still sorting through that, but their reviewer is very particular, and I think you could be very confident in the commission's process to button that up, hopefully at their next meeting, and if not, shortly after.
Okay, so it's likely to be determined when?
I would hope, is it next week, the meeting?
We're on next Thursday.
Next Thursday, I believe,
I don't know if we're going to be in the position to give you an answer tonight, but I can tell you that it would have to be conditioned, as I
Understood.
think you've already anticipated,
Yes.
on a stormwater permit issuance.
Mhm.
Tell me about snowpacking. Where is it going to go?
Did you say,
Snow.
Where are you going to put snow?
it doesn't snow on Cape Cod?
Well,
Uh,
You know, once or twice in my 68 years it has, so.
So we've got some options here. I'll hold this up. I don't know if it's good enough, but this entire area along the side here, there's a nice dense row of arborvitaes on the lot line. The parking now goes within about 10 feet of that lot line. So we're pulling it back about 20 feet. So you'll have an area to pile snow all along that eastern edge and in this corner here. And then, to the extent that we're overparked a little, I wouldn't say that they wouldn't tuck a little snow in the back of this. And then if we're pulling it another 10 feet forward, they'll have almost a 15-foot row to put some in the back and, tuck here and there. I think having a good sized parking lot is very beneficial for that purpose.
Like any parking lot, if you have to take spaces, you take spaces. I
In the
guess.
back especially,
Staples gives us a mountain when it snows.
Not as big as when I was a kid, but yeah, once in a while.
All right.
They bury cars.
All right. Is there I see it referenced everywhere, but I don't see it in my file.
What's that?
Is there a historic commission approval?
There is an historic
Okay,
commission
Can
approval.
we get a copy of that?
Of course.
All right. I think you've answered the questions about the lighting very, very well. And I think particularly with the candle watch we're seeing over here, I mean, the light that we're seeing over here along those rear property lines in the back parking lot being at aught, that's pretty impressive. And the lights that you're contemplating are just so in keeping with the new design of the Parker River Bridge and the new design of what's coming to the Bass River Bridge. I don't know if anybody's heard about that, but they're going to be rebuilding it in the next couple of years, over the next couple of years. And the light stanchions are going to look very similar to that. I think it's a very nice,
Hearings tonight on that.
very nice neighborhood feel to it. Yeah, but they're also going to develop all of 28 too, Dick, right?
Yeah.
Well, they're also, they're tearing down the trees at the corner. Let's put it that way.
And I don't know why the lights need to be on at the time that they act. Is there any ability to put motion detector lighting back there? So they shut off and only if somebody comes on the property do they turn on?
My guess is every time a bird flew by or landed on it, we'd end up with the lights coming on.
Oh, I've got motion detector lights on my home and that doesn't happen. I mean, this is as
I will talk
sophisticated.
with our lighting designer about it, but it's not something that we typically do. We usually use a photo cell to detect the darkness, and that that seasonally adjusts and then have a
Okay.
cutoff time.
I mean, how about just turning off the furthest back, maybe the back ones that's earlier? Is that possible?
Quite possible, depending on how we arrange the controls.
This is Yarmouth Port too. It's not downtown Hyannis, so it's a little safer than many areas. So
I own property in Hyannis. Please not denigrate down.
next to the 24 7-Eleven, it's a different animal here though, a bit.
All right. I think the hours of operation are fine. I think it's a marvelous design. It's keeping with the neighborhood and the conception of this being a commercial use property that's been here for many, many, many years. So it was never intended as a residential build. It's always been intended as a commercial build. And I like it. I like it because it's going to keep it a viable spot. And I also think that it's not going to overtax this neighborhood, but I do think there's a lot of spots there. And I don't know, maybe somebody else will agree with me, but I'd love to see a tree inventory with species noted. Okay.
Okay.
This, 3-inch caliper tree. We talked about those in front of the Ryan Amusement Center parking lot there, which is still in horrible shape. And we required the,
Actually, I think that's next door.
huh?
I think that's next door.
Well, the whole
Is
parking
it all
lot's
one
complex,
party?
so
Okay.
it's a
all right,
plaza,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm really talking about the other side of it. You're right, Dick, not to the right of the
Of the
post office.
part, yeah.
And, we just recently asked them to put out trees there. And I drive by it every single day and I'm very unimpressed with what they did. So, a 3-inch caliber tree doesn't mean it's going to become a 12-inch caliber tree in my lifetime, particularly when we talk about what the species are. So there's some very nice plantings that could go back there and, stand about 20 feet tall at their max, and a nice tree is to consider. So I would like to see an inventory on the trees, or any vegetation being.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just add to that briefly, that I know it's a Bradford pears or white
White
pears.
pear, yeah, I would
Yeah,
call
just,
that, yeah.
which are nice trees and I like them a lot and they look real pretty, but they break easy in storms. So it might be better to have another suggest some other types, or at least a mixture of trees as opposed to all one.
Star magnolia is a pretty tree you might want to consider. All right, so at
getting
this
fancy.
point, I
If
think
you've
you've
got any
answered it.
favorites, would be glad to hear 'em. London plane trees are a nice tree too. They kind of like that army bark and a sturdy, salt tolerant.
Yeah, well, I don't think we're here to tell you what to install, but
For all ears.
I want to make sure that what your representations are actually going to be on the ground.
Oh, yes. And
Okay.
to
And
the
when we see a
extent we did have
development
a,
like this, and no tree inventory.
well, again, we called for all the same species. A lot of times we'll use a red maple, but there is a very specific tree planting detail and a call out. So at a minimum, if you just approve these plans, you'd have a good, a decent tree for sure. But we'll mix it up and provide a,
Okay, I'm not being
palette for you.
critical, I'm just asking.
Okay.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah,
I'd like
no.
to see it because we've seen too many times where it doesn't go in as represented on the plans. And there are some sites that do an outstanding job of following it.
Yeah.
And some of them are right along Route 28. And I'm sure this is going to be equally as nice. Where the existing medical facility is, it's a very nice part of that town.
Yes.
Of course, it's all medical, right? It's all owned by Cape Cod Healthcare, but, okay, I have nothing other than to talk about a site plan. And before we get to comments from the public, the site plan really didn't, all the recommendations of the site plan have been implemented. Is that fair to say?
I think that's very fair to say. To Dick's point on the tank, we moved that out from the island so there wouldn't be any conflict with the tree there. I believe I picked up every single concern with the 8/17/21 revision. And then we mirrored Roger's latest lighting plan with that last one and made those adjustments per the stormwater review with that last set that came in.
What would the siding be on this? What is the siding on this? You're going to replace all the siding?
It's mostly white cedar shingles that have been painted white. And so we'll be maintaining that. We'll be replacing as needed.
It's funny that all medical offices want to be white, painted white.
Historic
Matches their
board
jacket.
loves the white and black.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming historic has already approved that,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That's who's more concerned than me. I don't see any orange houses out there, so I'm glad you didn't suggest orange. The lighting they've covered, the snow storage, you've satisfied me. The stormwater drainage, I think we've talked about how we can get around that. Fire department doesn't give us really anything. They're happy with the access. Health. Tell us about health. I don't see it noted here, but I certainly know that, and I think the other board members have likely seen that there is an abutter that does have very great concerns, or a property owner that is a concerned person. They're on the list. And one of the concerns is medical waste. Is medical waste, as I've seen it in some of these offices, is whatever you use, it goes into a lock box, and then that is taken off premises, isn't it?
Correct.
Okay, so it's not going to be stored out in the garage
No,
or within the facility.
no.
And how frequently does it get removed from the?
I don't have the answer to that. I'm sure that Evan does, and so he could speak to that.
Right. Well, we're going to allow that to happen
Right.
before, because I understand he's part of your presentation.
Yes,
The answer is you don't know at this point, right?
correct.
I'd want to see it be frequent.
Right.
I mean, I think
I'm-
everybody's concerned for that. Health would be concerned. It's not an AP, but it's groundwater out there,
Right.
I think that might be regulated by state health.
I think so.
Evan can definitely speak to
Right.
their procedures and.
But it's,
But I've
it's
always
not
wondered
ad
where it
hoc.
goes to. I mean, does it get thrown over to the incinerator or what? I
West
can't
Yarmouth.
remember.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either. And it's a ponderous question, right?
Red
Look at
bag,
Cape Cod Hospital and how do they dispose of what they dispose
Yeah,
of?
they have a specific service that comes to take care of the sharps, and there's red bag waste and all kinds of different.
Okay, sure.
Right.
We've answered it my satisfaction. Okay, you had somebody with your group that you wanted to add to this presentation?
Yes, please.
Please feel free to, if his hand is raised, may we invite him in? What's his
You're looking
name?
for,
Go
Oh,
ahead.
Evan, okay, sure.
how you doing?
Go ahead, Evan. Tell us all about what you want to say.
Well, first of all, thank you very much. I just wanted to go over a couple of comments that were already made. In the Hyannis office now, there is not 14 spaces, but 38. And 2 of those are handicap. Most of the staff parks in the back on Camp Street, and we double park. We can fit about 14 cars there. We see patients up to 4:30, so we don't schedule patients to 4:30. We schedule them at 4:15 or 4:20, depending on their type of appointment, so they're done by 4:30. Of course, there's wrap-up time for the physicians to document in their chart or send any prescriptions over, anything like that. So that may result in them being there 5:30. Staff is definitely gone before the physicians. That's why we need the additional parking for the staff. Support staff in a medical office there's a lot. There's no way around that. For every doctor you have a medical assistant, you have check-in staff, you have checkout staff, you have surgical scheduling staff, you have billing staff, which is mostly what I do from the business side. So as far as the lights are concerned, it's really about safety and nothing else. I have spoken to the abutters behind us there. I think there are three of them that I spoke, 2 of them I spoke with. One, I left my information and I never heard from them, but they're happy about the use of the space. They welcome it, they support it. We went over the lighting. If there is an issue with the lights being on till 9, they can go off at 8. It doesn't really matter. It's really about safety. So we would like to keep the lights on around the building so people don't hang out back there, for example, because you are set back there quite a bit. We're not going to touch the building, only improve the building. We're not changing any colors. We're removing any plastic, any broken brick that was added to the building from its historic view back to granite. I don't even know if it was granite before, but granite is nice historical nature to it. So we're going to put that back with black iron, I believe. So as far as the lighting is concerned, I'm not sure that's really a big issue, but we can adjust that accordingly. There was also some issue or rumor about ambulances, or this is some urgent care center, or it is not, it's by appointment only. We do allow for those patients that are in nursing homes. A lot of times they'll come by gurney or by, Coastal Medical. So we do allow them some additional privacy, and that's really what the side ramp is for. They're not waiting in the waiting room with everybody. We can put them right into a room on a gurney, away from everybody, and we know that they're coming in advance. So I think that was the issue that was brought up earlier about that. The additional parking, it's always nice to have parking. What can I say? It's Cape Cod.
Okay. Anything else, or can we move on?
About
Okay, so does anybody in our audience care to speak?
Oh, did you want to hear more about medical waste? Did you want him to?
Oh yeah, medical waste. Yes, I can answer that. So medical waste is picked up probably, depending on the need, it can be picked up weekly or monthly. It's during business hours. We use the same company as Cape Cod Healthcare does. It's all documented, manifested. There are strict requirements on that. So it's nothing we can control. It's all controlled by the state and regulations. So you can, and the only waste that we have no liquid waste. We have no chemicals. So the only thing we have is syringes from injections for chemotherapy, which are in those red containers I'm sure everybody's familiar with, and are then bagged up, and then they're picked up by the waste management company.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Evan, before I move on?
No, not that I can think of.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody in our audience care to speak in favor of this petition? If so, come to the lectern and speak, tell us who you are and give us your address. Does anyone in our audience care to speak in opposition to this petition? If so, please come to the microphone and tell us your address. On both of those questions, nobody's moved or raised their hand in the room. On the internet, perhaps, is anybody in the,
We have two.
okay, and have they designated, and let's start with, is any one of the people on the internet in favor of the petition? If so, raise your hand again to.
I believe Dawn Marie Flett was. I'm going to allow her to speak. I think she's on.
All right.
Yeah.
Let them be identified, please invite them in, and then we'll get to the other two.
She just wrote in the comments, yes, in favor, from Dawn Marie Flett.
Okay.
I will invite the other.
There's a specific address that,
We've got Dawn Marie's address.
okay.
Okay, did they
No,
wish to
that's in
say
favor.
something? No?
Hi, am I unmuted?
Oh, there you are.
Hi, am I unmuted?
What do you want to say? Yeah, it's not working.
Hi, Dawn Marie Flett, Lilac Lane in Yarmouthport. I think this is an excellent reuse of a really large commercial property in Yarmouthport, and I think it would be a real asset to be able to have medical services that don't require traveling into Hyannis. And I think the maintenance of the property is really priority because it is in bad shape right now. So I'm in favor of the application. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next person?
In favor, I don't believe anyone.
Nobody else?
Not in favor.
Okay, anybody opposed?
Favor.
Okay, anybody opposed? There we go, Nancy Berry. Nancy, why don't you tell us where you live? Are you muted? Nancy? Does it show that she's muted?
Um,
Can you hear me now?
There you are. Yes, we're calling upon you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yes, I live at 120 Main Street, Route 6A. I'm across from the banks. I am in opposition of this, and I really appreciate Dick Martin on your board this evening addressing the 92 parking spaces. I mean, this is the largest commercial property that will go into the the village of Yarmouthport in the historic district, the largest historic district in the country. Old Yarmouth Inn only has 68 spaces. So I agree wholeheartedly that we're looking at something that is going to really change and alter the fabric of the village. I don't agree at all with, and thank you, I believe, sir, you had talked about the 3-inch arborvitaes. Atrocious that there's not a real plan going on. I did not agree with the historical commission on the plastic windows that are going in and trim and quite a few other things. I do believe that the design is quite lovely, but the use of the building the lighting is atrocious. I live across the street from the building now, and I have to keep all my blinds down and windows closed because of the bright lights now, and I know they're going to get worse because I've seen the lighting plan. There's no downshine lighting on the building, and it's all out lighting or up lighting, and that is just atrocious. And it is an eyesore, and it's a headache for me living right across. I do want to address with my partner Stephen Spiewak, who's with me. This is zoned. It's very confusing how the urology medical clinic office, whatever it is it a doctor's office or a hospital? Because the bylaws only have zoning for a hospital or a doctor's office. I don't know what a medical office is. I understand it's closed at 4:30, but you will be doing surgeries here, as Mr. Cohen just stated. I understand that the medical waste will be picked up during the day between 8:30 and 4:30. Thank God they're not going to be coming at 2 a.m. to pick up medical waste. But I'd really like to talk about that difference. I think it's very important. What is going across the street? And will that someday be expanded? We are talking about the largest historic district in the country, not in just Massachusetts. What are we doing here? So I'm going to ask Stephen to say a few words in the zoning department. And I appreciate everybody listening. I had to live with a debacle for years now with the Cape Cod Cooperative Bank going, it looks like any Town USA strip mall across the street from my house after the historic board approved that debacle, which is the same bank in Dennis and all across. But anyways, we're not talking about that tonight. We're talking specifically about this one project, and I'll let Stephen voice some of his concerns. Thank you.
Cut it off. Cut it off. Do you hear me, Nancy?
Yes, can you hear me?
Well, why didn't you respond when I tried to intervene with your problems about the Historic Commission? You didn't hear me saying Nancy?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't.
All right, let's move on. You've got your partner there. If all we're gonna, let's not just reiterate what's been said.
No, I'm not talking about the historic.
I hate this.
That's what we're looking at, is the expansion of the parking lot right now and the actual use of this building.
Is there something,
Thank you.
Is there something else you'd like to speak to?
Yes, it is the actual zoning. This is the board. It's an appeal for the zoning, the zoning of the parking. And I agree with Dick Martin. It is too much, and we just wanted to say one more word on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you.
Yes, hello. Thank you, board, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak. My name's Steve Spiewak. Know Nancy for going on 20 years and live across the street. I spent 10 years as a licensed contractor in the state of Massachusetts. Anytime you apply for a variance of any sort, it's very specific language, very specific terminology, very specific categories. And I guess all the other issues have been addressed by various board members with respect to the parking, the lighting, the foliage that's going to be put in place. I would agree with all of that. Many times throughout the summary of reasoning, the applicant has stated that it's either all or nothing. Either they get these 14 additional spaces or the project is fiscally inviolable. They go on to say that based on their knowledge of a well-flowing business, i.e. their Hyannis location, they need these additional 14 spaces. Throughout the summary of reasoning, however, they contradict themselves. Is it 3 spaces for handicap? Is it 8 spaces? Is it an additional 14 spaces? I'd like to see some specificity with that. But getting back to the applicant's request for variance, if you go into the bylaws, the zoning bylaws, specifically page 20, under category O, professional services, there's O1, doctor's offices. If you go under institutional services or category P, specifically P4, it's either a hospital. So my question is, in all of the applicants' verbiage, both in writing in their summary and also today or tonight's meeting, all I kept hearing was medical offices. I don't hear doctor's offices, nor do I hear hospital. But I think there's a lot of lines being blurred here as it pertains to the specific application for a variant in the town of Yarmouth. If I were to apply for a 2-family residential reconstruction, and I put in my summary of reasoning, this is a condo with 40B, I would get thrown out. I would have to reapply. Case in point, we have the same situation occurring. Nowhere in this application, and I went through it probably 10 times, the summary of reasoning is 7 pages. They mentioned in there approximately on 6 occasions, it's a medical office. They did not specify.
Let's ask the petitioner to define what's going to be there. Petitioner, any one of the 3 of you representing the petitioners, can you tell us what it is? Medical offices with doctors and staff?
It's a medical.
Or hospital.
It's not a hospital. Hospital would require.
It's not a
200.
hospital,
It's
we
just
all
not.
know that. But
It's a medical
But it is a medical clinic that is doing surgeries. I mean,
Pam, we're not.
when do we expand this after 4:30 at night? I don't, I mean, my concern is for.
Cut it off, please.
I can answer that.
No, we're not going to get into it anymore. I think you've made your points. I respect it very much. This board has received your lengthy submission. I'm sure every member has read it, and you've now added to it. So if you're going to keep talking over me when I want to move along, then we're going to shut you off. So we shut you off, and we're now going to ask, is there another member of the public that would like to speak in opposition to this?
Seeing none.
All right, we now close it to public commentary on the petition and insights on the petition. We open it up to board discussion and dialogue, and maybe there'll be some more questions. Mr. Igo, I know that you said you might have. Do you want to proceed with them?
I just wanted, just a couple more questions and then I'll give you my comment. The number of doctors, what's the maximum number of doctors that would be there?
At this time, 7.
7.
They may hire more doctors, and that's also an idea of why, if they hire more doctors, each doctor sees about 20 patients a day.
Do they
And
have, because that was one thing that I did want to just kind of nail down here.
Certainly.
If we could cap the number of doctors here, if we had to do that, how many do you need us to cap it at?
The septic is set up for 8, if that's helpful. Yeah.
Well, why don't we say 8 doctors maximum? We're not going to include staff or anything with that, but just 8 doctors.
Okay.
If you need more, come back and see us.
Certainly.
Okay. I'm not saying, I don't think we'd say that you can't, but just so we have that.
May I say one thing?
Yeah,
There are more doctors than 8 is my understanding in the practice. They have 4 offices.
well, why don't we just say 8 at any one
In this
time?
Right,
location.
at one time, and the doctors rotate
Yeah,
through the 4
that's fine.
offices.
Just 8 at one time on doing procedures on the premises, just so there's not 21 over
Understood.
here. Okay. Other than that, that was really the only thing. I'm just going to echo some of the comments that I've heard before. I'm very happy to see that you're restoring a historic building. I think that's great. I think essentially it's going to be a nice upgrade to the site. I do think the site needs some upgrades as you drive by.
Yeah.
It's been there for a long time. We're going to maintain the historic character of the area right here and the surrounding neighborhood. It is in a B1 district. For those who do have some concerns about this, I would just suggest to them that you could have something there that I guarantee you would not like. All right. Probably I'll just throw out a Burger King or something like that. The Historic Commission may tell you what they want to see for siding and everything all about that, and the architecture, but they could probably still put one there. So I think this is a good use. I also think it's a use for the surrounding area that there will be a demand for. The people in Yarmouthport and on the north side will be able to utilize this service without the need to go into Hyannis.
Correct.
And that is a trek going down Willow Street and crossing over and going over there. And if they're going to this particular medical facility that's currently in Hyannis, and it is a difficult site to get in and out of right now. I go up there all the time. Every morning I'm sitting at that light, and I know it's very popular. So there's obviously a demand for it. I think the landscape plan's very nice. I will say that I do share the concerns that I would like to see a larger buffer in the back. So if we could, I think we talked about eliminating those rear parking spaces or just increasing the buffer and moving that all in.
Pushing it all.
By 10 feet, yeah,
Okay,
we'll
so
slide
if-
everything
if-
10 feet to the north to give over a 20-foot buffer in
And
the
might I
rear.
suggest that we just have them submit a revised plan that shows that? And I do agree.
That would be a condition,
That
certainly.
that would be a
Yes.
condition. And I do agree that I think that we should have some type of a definitive plan that shows what trees are going to be on the site and where they're going to be located. The representation was made that essentially what we're seeing here in green on Plan C300 represents what will be grass. That's great. I think that's going to look very nice. The lighting, I think we did cover the lighting, and I'm familiar with that new lighting that they have, and it's not obtrusive. It does not go outside of the site.
Does not go up either.
No, yeah. And maybe we talk about a condition that it go off, no later than 9 PM. I know we heard from, I believe, one of the principals who said that, they weren't concerned. It's really a safety issue. And I think a safety thing is just, it protects the neighborhood as well. So I don't think it's meant that they want to keep lighting on in their site, but just for everybody's benefit. So maybe 9 o'clock or so, if we could shut the lights off. The hours, I think we set the hours Monday through Thursday, 8:30 to 4:30, but that's for patients. I think we should just say 8:30 for 4:30 for patients. I think if they have staff on it, but after that we may not need to regulate that because the doctors have to do their paperwork. Staff may have to stay. That no one's creating any noise or hazard or congestion, whatever, that's going to affect any of the neighbors. So I think if we just regulate the hours of operation and then 9 to 4:30 on Friday, there's no weekends. So those are really the only comments that I have. Again, I think it's a very welcome addition to the north side. And I think that over time, the community will be very happy that they have this neighbor. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
I think Sean kind of took care of pretty much everything I would say. I think with moving the parking back from the back lot line and the other things that have been stated and mix up the trees and stuff like that we've mentioned. And save whatever can be there. I mean, if there's a little ability to save more on the westerly line there too, because I think we're cutting into some of those nice trees there too by having the parking just this way. So what, and actually for the fan, just as the chairman had mentioned, it would be nice when we're getting these plans, if we have existing treescapes shown, that when this comes to us, as opposed to trying to guess from an area view what's there and what's not there. But otherwise, I agree and concur with what Sean has stated, and I think it's going to be a good logical reuse of this historic structure in this historic district, and with a few little changes can be just fine.
Thank you. Mr. Frapery.
I agree with Mr. Egger and Mr. Martin on what they've said. I think it's an improvement on what's there, and in many cases, it reduces all of the issues that we probably have had in the past, except for the back parking.
You're going to get yelled at in a minute. Pull your mic over. Lee,
Okay.
So everybody at home is
Dying to hear
anxious
me,
for
I
your
know.
words.
So but the two things that I would like to bring up is I'd almost like to see you change the timing on the lighting, such that, I know you mentioned 9 o'clock. I'd love to see that back lighting, this parking C, if that could be even 7 o'clock or between 7 or 8 or whatever, anything you could do, because those are the three houses that surround that one area. It would probably improve a little bit. You still have lighting in the B and around the building that would be able to stay on later. So if you could look into that, I'd appreciate it.
Well, let's make it a condition.
Make it a
That's what you
condition,
wanna
yeah.
see.
And other than that, removing that 10 feet in the back, I think would be fair. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's a marvelous addition. I think it's going to be great. I think instead of frustrating doctors at this particular time in our collective history, it's nice to see we can support them in the effort to provide good healthcare to this aging population on Cape Cod. And that's like I said earlier, not to be a smart ass, but it is a population on Cape Cod that will need this service more and more and more. So the conditions that I've heard are, and I'm a little uncertain about this last one. What time were you suggesting they should go off? At
7 o'clock for the parking.
o'clock,
Parking
gentlemen.
C.
For the rear of
For
the
the rear
parking, is that
parking,
doable to you guys? If you can shut those
We're just,
lights off in the back,
There's a
around
parking,
7-ish?
there's a C section that you had
With
listed.
parking C,
sure,
Yeah.
I don't see that as unreasonable.
no.
They'll
And
give you
if-
plenty of
if
time.
We can set it up with different times, and the applicant wants nothing more than to be a good neighbor.
Okay.
So I think if there's an issue with the timing, I think they could easily make some adjustments.
It's only
to
going to
it.
be an issue probably, half the year at most anyway in that regard. So if you could do
Right, in
that.
the summertime, the
Sun
lights will,
back
it'll be dark before the lights. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go over the conditions that we've talked about here. The hours of operation being Monday through Thursday, it being 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Friday, 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. That's for patient hours, not for staff or doctors. And no weekends. Gee, I'm glad somebody's taking a weekend off occasion.
Don't you?
Mr. Martin hasn't had a weekend off in 25 years. All right. The next one is subject to the wastewater permit. The grant of the wastewater permit.
Or stormwater.
I'm sorry, stormwater, excuse me. Stormwater permit. You're going to increase the buffer to the rear.
20
And
feet.
you're going to make it 20 feet?
It will be 20 feet, yeah.
Where are those spaces going to go then? How do you?
So we're gonna concede to Mr. Martin's point, if we delete 4 east-west, we can compress that and,
Okay.
and achieve probably 22-foot minimum buffer.
Okay, all right. Again, the number seems vast to me, but if you need it, you need it. So you'll increase that rear buffer to 20 feet. And you're going to show us a plan showing these changes. You're going to submit to us a plan after tonight's meeting.
Correct.
Showing us these changes, assuming that we grant your request. And you're also going to give us an inventory of the species and type and locations. If you can show that on a plan, that'd be wonderful. And submit that to us. Anybody think of anything else?
You had a maximum of 8 doctors
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
at one
Maximum
time.
8 doctors at one
Point of
time.
order.
Just at
Maximum
one
8
time.
doctors
at any
one time.
Right.
At the facility, because they do rotate out, so.
Okay. So you've got that one as well, yes?
Question, just wanted to clarify about the lighting because there are different sections.
Yep.
So we have heard from Evan, and if it's possible to have parking lot C turn off at 8 PM rather than 7, that's what we propose.
Negotiate, accept that negotiated term.
That's fine.
8 o'clock.
7 would have been nice, but 8's fine.
And then I wanted to clarify the orange area that's surrounding the building. We had proposed that that stay lit until 11.
Right.
Are we still on board with that timeframe for?
Well, the only restriction we're placing as a condition is on the rear.
Right, that's what I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, the others.
got it.
All right. So now why don't you run down the relief needed? Let's go ahead and tell us what you contend is the relief needed, because you've got various,
I think they're looking for 3 forms of relief, aren't you?
they're looking for special permits and
permit for the
variants.
Building,
Yeah,
special permit for the
For the
use,
garage,
Yeah.
special permit for the expanded garage,
correct,
variance for the parking in the rear. Is that correct?
correct.
Which they may not need anymore, right?
But they're still going to need a variance in the rear on that
I bel- on
because
the-
they're
on the side towards
expanding
the
it
coupe.
into a residential district.
Correct.
and we ought to note that I think if, at least when I heard your presentation, it passed by me, but that Tella area, drive up Tella area, that's going to be enclosed and made part of the building. Yes.
Slowing away.
It's going away. It's
chopped
being
off.
chopped off, exactly.
Okay.
That's how
And
they
the
take-
windows, are being
So
rationalized
we'll follow the building
there.
lines.
Correct.
Gotcha.
that's how
Okay.
they get rid of one curb cut too.
You know, do you want us to discuss the criteria?
Sure.
Well, I think they meet the criteria for the special permit. I don't think that what they propose is going to create any undue hazard, nuisance, or congestion. I certainly don't think they derogate from the purpose and intent of the bylaw. In fact, I think the bylaw certainly supports this being allowed by special permit. Also, with the addition, they're not creating, as was represented, any new nonconformity. That's being built in towards and not out towards to create any new nonconformities on the lot lines. So I don't think that certainly would create a hazard, nuisance, or congestion. I do agree on the variance criteria, that it's the shape of the lot and the size of the building that creates a hardship and the need for extended parking. And it is the shape of this lot that does intrude into the residential district. And historically, it's been used for that purpose, dating back to the 60s. So I don't think that the expansion, while I don't think we can expand or modify the variance, because I think we have to give them a new variance. I think every time you want to create additional
Yeah, the extra
variance
spaces.
need, you need a new variance and can't expand on another one. But I do think they meet the criteria of a variance, Mr. Chairman. So I would suggest that the petitioner has met their burden, both by their request for special permit in the B1 and the variance criteria in the area in the residential district. And I would suggest that the board support the petition.
Thank you very much. I think that it's not going to change in any way the nature, character of this neighborhood of town, particularly out there. It's been a commercial business. It's going to remain a commercial business. Thank goodness we have doctors. So the only other thing that I would ask that we put in as a condition on afterthought is that the parking be exactly as represented, save for those back
Understood.
spots
Yes.
that are going to now move forward, okay?
Okay.
There'd be no changes to the parking scheme without coming back, all right?
As represented on Plan C300,
Yes.
Plan number C300.
We've eliminated the drive-through. That's gone. It'll all be just per this plan, curb cut reduced just per this plan. So that's a fine condition.
And they'll submit a modified plan that shows that back with the 20-foot buffer.
Correct.
And a tree schedule,
And
Sorry.
something very near and dear to my heart,
But
okay?
I'm not going to try and put what the lighting is. You guys have to write that because,
Okay,
but they can adjust the levels down a
Yeah,
little bit too, perhaps even. So again, they want to be good neighbors and if there's any problems, we'll fix them.
all right, let's move on. Everybody wants dinner. Thank you very much. We're going to now have to take vote on all these things. So for the first special permit, dealing with the change, modification of a pre-existing non-conforming building, not the garage, the building. But does that the board care to have any discussion before moving it along to a vote?
Did you make a motion?
Oh, shit.
I think we need a motion. I move that we approve the special permit as requested.
Second.
Uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
I'll second that.
Who's seconded first? I think Mr. Frapery
Oh, did
did.
he? Okay.
I'm sorry for that, everybody at home. It's been a long day.
Doing a good job.
All right, there's a motion made and seconded. Does the board care to have any decision before moving it along? Hearing none, all those in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
That carries on a 4-0 vote.
Make a motion that we approve the variance.
Special permit?
Special permit on the,
Well, are we doing two special permits or just one?
no, they need another special permit for the garage.
Two, all right, move that we approve the special permit for the garage addition.
Second.
Second.
On, Mr. Martin, you know you want your
No, that's all right.
name in this. All right, on that motion so made and seconded, does the board care to have any discussion before moving along to a vote? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
On the variance, please, somebody going to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Subject to the 7 conditions we've talked about here tonight,
correct.
okay?
Certainly.
Variance, we have Mr. Mr. Igo moved, right?
Yep.
Mr. Martin seconded. Does the board care to have any discussion before moving along to a vote? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
I look forward to getting a draft decision from you. Okay.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you
you
very much for your time.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Okay, well, let's get right to the. Wait, oh no, what did he do? But I put the agenda in.
Here's the agenda right here.
Yeah.
I got an agenda flyer. Here we go.
There it is somewhere.
It's somewhere in that file. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. So our next matter on is the 4927, that of Fabian Evangelista Lima Pava. I hope I'm saying that name correct on the last name. Concerning property located at 83A Lewis Road, West Yarmouth, Mass. That property is in a zoning district R25. Tonight, our applicant is seeking a special permit pursuant to section 202.5 and use table designation P7A for family daycare provider. Hello,
Well, I'm here to translate for her to speak Portuguese.
would you tell us who you are?
Yes, I'm Stephanie Lima.
You're a relative, are you?
No, I'm just a translator.
Okay, all right. Well, why don't you go ahead and tell us about what you're doing? And we'll try to help you. We're not going to have the same kind of questions as the last one. We'll get you through it.
Fala seu nome.
My name is Fabiane Paiva. Sou provedora em daycare.
She has a daycare, take care of kids.
Das crianças semanalmente para trabalhar.
She take care of the kids during the week.
Tem uma rotina
She has a schedule with the kids.
com atividades, brincadeiras,
She have activities and play with them.
dança,
Nap time.
uma área de lazer com musicais,
They,
com as crianças.
she play music with them.
Pouco dá amor e carinho.
She give loves and attention to the kids.
Okay. And what are the hours of operation?
Qual que é os horários que você trabalha?
Das 7 às 5.
7 to 5. 7 a.m. to 5 p.m.
6 children total?
6 crianças no total? Yes.
And you're here because you received the violation notice from the town.
Você veio aqui porque você recebeu a nota da cidade.
Sim.
Yes.
Okay. So does our board have any questions they'd like to ask of this petitioner? We'll start with you, Mr. Frapery.
Look at the pictures. I didn't go inside, but I noticed you have a sleeping area upstairs, is that correct?
E ele não viu lá dentro, ele tá perguntando do lugar que as crianças dormem. Eles têm lá em cima, certo?
Sim.
Yes,
É,
upstairs.
For the children,
eu
okay.
encaminhei uma foto.
She said she sent the pictures.
Yeah, I was trying to make sure I understood that. These are upstairs? is
Esse
that-
é lá em cima? Yes, upstairs.
Okay. And the other question I have just about parking.
Do estacionamento.
I went by the day and just to stop in front, and I noticed there were cars parked all the way across the front, several trucks. And I just wondered could you describe for us how the parking works in the morning and drop off and pick up?
Diz ele que dirigiu lá e viu, passou de dia e estava cheio de caminhões, de estacionamento estava cheio. Aí ele quer saber como é que você vai fazer com relação ao estacionamento.
Normalmente as crianças chegam todas de horários diferentes.
Normally they don't come all together. They came different time.
E na minha vaga, eu tenho 2 vagas diferentes.
And she has 2 spaces for her and her, designed to her.
Isso. Dos outros lados são dos outros moradores.
And the other sides are like the other people that live there.
O meu, normalmente as crianças chegam entre 7h30, 8 horas.
Normally
9
the kids
horas.
get dropped up around 7, 7:30, 8 o'clock.
E na hora de buscar também são horários diferentes.
And when they
entre
come
4,
when they come back in the
4 e pouco.
afternoon around 4 to 5, so it's not all coming together in the same time.
Various times.
E normalmente os vizinhos que não têm carro do lado, quando os carros deles não estão no local, eles falam
And
que
she has one of
pode
the
utilizar.
neighbors next to her allowed her to use it. If the car is not there, they can park it also.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Mr. Igo?
What are the ages of the children?
A idade das crianças.
Hoje eu estou com entre 6
Today she has 6 years old.
6 meses
6 months, sorry,
e 3 anos.
and 3 years. So 6 months to 3 years.
Baby só.
Okay, do you have 6 months, huh?
Just one, she say, one baby.
Are you trained to take care of a 6-month-old?
Você tá treinada para cuidar de uma
6-month-old?
criança de 6 meses?
Sim.
Yes.
You are? Okay. And has this been inspected by the town?
Foi a cidade foi lá inspetorada dentro da casa.
Dentro da casa? E nem não.
Inside the house, nobody.
Não sei
Okay.
se em questão do
Okay.
Covid,
Maybe they'll come in and inspect.
tem que tomar
Okay.
cuidado.
Yeah, nobody came inside.
Okay, all right, okay. They'll probably come over and look. I saw the pictures. It looks very nice.
Ele viu as fotos, tá muito bonito.
Sim.
And how long have you been doing this?
Quanto tempo você tá fazendo isso?
Agora vai fazer 4 meses.
It's gonna be 4 months.
4 months. Had you done this before?
Você já fez isso antes?
Cuidar de crianças? Yes.
Take care of kids, yes.
You have.
Yes.
Okay, how long before the 4 months? How long have you been doing it in total?
Quanto tempo você vem fazendo isso sempre, desde o total todo?
Não. Eu cuidei de uma criança. Não daycare. Para mim, daycare, para mim fazer o daycare, eu tinha que fazer o peso.
Daycare, it's been 4 months, but
Mhm.
she was taking care of another kids before.
Eu tenho que tirar licença.
Not as
pra
like a
funcionar.
licensed daycare.
Oh, I see,
She
okay.
was like a private babe nanny.
Does she have her own children?
Você tem filhos?
Não.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
So all your permits and so forth and from the state are in order?
Tá tudo com as suas perguntas, licença, tudo certo?
Yeah, first aid and everything that would be normally required.
Yes.
So you rent, this is duplex, you rent one side of the duplex, correct?
É duplex e você aluga. Yes.
All right. And normally there'd be only two spaces, 2 parking spaces that would be applied for your unit.
Estacionar 2 carros, né? Sim.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Is parking set back? Is it kind of room to pull in off the street to let children off without, being in the street? In other words, is it kind of wide, the area of parking,
É largo, como é que é o estacionamento?
or deep?
Eles podem descer e as crianças entram. Yeah, they have a lot of space and it's safe.
Okay, so if there's two cars parking there, somebody can pull in back of those cars to drop off a child, for instance.
tiver dois carros parqueados um do lado do outro, tem como eles parar ainda atrás daquele ali, o
Sim.
outro carro e descer também?
Terceiro tem.
Yeah, 3 cars, yeah.
And according to the letters I see, apparently the your landlord is fine with this occurring, this use, and apparently, needless to say, all the people that you're watching children for seem to be very pleased with your
Eles mandaram cartas
how you do things.
Thank you.
I know there's a letter from one neighbor who's concerned about the dropping off and parking issues and so forth, but it looks like it looks like a nicely, the pictures are nice, and be always nice if these things happened in the circumstances they're supposed to, as opposed to after the fact. But I don't think I have anything else to say. It looks like it's a well-run, and as long as it's limited to 6 people and the dropping off and picking up is staggered, I don't think I have a big problem.
Can I just ask one question?
Of course, sure.
When the children get dropped off, I see you're set back from the street. Do the mothers bring the children up to the front door, or do you go out and get them?
As crianças são deixadas lá.
Or do the kids run from the car to the door?
Into the street.
As mães descem e levam as crianças,
6
ou
months
as
old.
crianças descem sozinhas, leva ou você vai e busca.
A mãe traz até a
The
porta.
mother bring the kids to her.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask that we make that a condition, that the mothers walk the children right to the front door,
Você faça isso sempre
or
vai ser
that
assim,
somebody
uma
goes out
ordem,
and gets the children and brings them
ou
in, so the
alguém
kids
que tem
don't
que-
run
as
from the
crianças
car
não
up
descer
to the door.
sozinha do carro. As mães têm que levar, ou você tem que ir buscar.
Não, sim, mas normalmente as mães trazem até a mim, por causa do Covid agora, tem uma distância e elas trazem
She's
até mim.
saying because of the COVID right now, the mother's bringing the kids and they have like a
Okay.
distance.
Just because Lewis Road can get a little busy, especially in the summertime,
Rua lá
because
fica
we don't want to have the
muito
kids going the other
movimento no
way,
summer,
okay,
e
into
não
the
quer
street.
nenhuma criança correndo. Então, para você ter
Okay.
certeza que
That's
isso
all
vai
I
ser
have.
sempre assim.
How long did you say you've been operating this at this site?
Quanto tempo você está fazendo isso lá nesse lugar?
Lá,
É.
vai fazer agora 4
4
meses.
It's gonna be now 4 months.
Okay, have the police been out there because of any blocking of the road?
A polícia já esteve lá por ter parado na rua. Tá?
And typically, when somebody comes to drop off their child, where do they bring their car to a stop?
Quando eles vão deixar as crianças lá, onde que eles param o carro para deixar?
Dentro da garagem. Nas minhas 2
No
vagas
lugar
nunca
do
aconteceu.
estacionamento?
né?
And her own space that she has the choose parking space.
Okay, and so it's not on the road surface, it's
Não
off-road.
tá sempre na rua, eles não param na rua.
Não.
No,
No what?
it's not in the street, sorry.
Okay. I guess you can't answer a negative question with a negative answer.
Yes.
Okay, so you have filed with us a regular license from the state. The state came in and investigated by inspecting this, correct?
Yes,
Okay, and that was done and dated 8/24/21 with an expiration date of 8/23/24, a 3-year license.
Ele tem.
e ele tem a cópia aqui da sua licença.
Sim.
Uhum.
Along with that, there's a certificate of completion for Fabian to be a provider of childcare. A first aid course completion certificate and a CPR completion certificate.
She has something to say. Can she say something?
Does,
Curso de CPR, que venceu agora dia 11, que já foi feita a atualização também.
She did another, the CPR certificate is aspirate, but she has another one that she just renewed.
okay. Well, stay current on those, please, okay? So does anybody in our audience care to speak in favor of this petition? If so, please come up to the microphone. Seeing none. Does anybody care to speak in opposition to this petition? If so, please come to the microphone. Seeing none. Before we close the commentary on this, I'm just going to very quickly read one letter and refer to other letters. I'll start with the other letters. Guillermo de Oliveira Martins. It looks like, I can't tell whose name. Oh, there it is. Isla Dane Cruz, Dion Cruz. Marcia Cecilia Coho, Patricia J. Morrow, Luna Beatrice Germano Silva. And those are all people that speak because of knowing you and having brought children to your facility. And Carolyn E. Murphy, who is an abutter at 99 Lewis Road. All those folks spoke in favor of you, and they ought to be thankful that they would do that for you. There is, however, one letter that I do want to read in its entirety. It comes from Thomas DeMade of 100 Lewis Road, West Yarmouth, Massachusetts, Board of Appeals. I have reviewed the proposed and request for a special permit. This area at 85 Lewis Road is very congested as it is. These rental units require parking and all the spaces available are always full. This results in on-street parking on the opposite side of Lewis Road. If the permits were approved, there is no place for children to be dropped off unless in the middle of the roadway. This will add congestion to Lewis Road, especially in the summer. The big concerns will be safety issues for the children and the public. I'm opposed to the granting of this permit. All right, so that's all we have for data and comment. I do want to say, I want to echo his comments that parking cannot, even short-term parking for just opening the door and letting the child go, cannot occur on that street, okay? And that's going to be a condition that no parents can park their car on the street. Can you stagger the time that these people come in by, say, 15-minute increments?
Tem como você organizar para cada 15 minutos eles chegarem?
Yes.
Avisar eles, organizar schedule para cada 15 minutos, não pode.
So you'd be able to get all 6 kids in over the course of an hour and a half.
Aí você vai conseguir pegar as 6 crianças num período de 1 hora. Cada 15 minutos chega uma. Você pode fazer isso?
Sim, porque assim, ó, normalmente chega uma 7h06, chega outra 7h30.
She's saying normally one come at 7 and the other one comes 7:30.
E chega 8h30 e
And-
9 horas.
And 9 and then 9:30.
Okay, so it wouldn't be a problem then to say they must be separated by at least 15-minute
Vai ter problema então,
intervals.
se organizarem para cada 15 minutos, cada uma chegar.
And
não
that you
ficar
have to
no meio
tell
da
them.
rua. Aí você tem
É
que falar
porque
com
não-
elas. Yes, not a problem. She's gonna talk to them.
Okay. All right, does anybody on our board have any other questions of our petitioner here tonight?
Nope.
No, everybody happy?
Yep.
All right, I think they meet all the criteria.
They-
And so why doesn't somebody make a motion?
Raise their hand.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the petition as requested with the following conditions. Number of children be limited to 6.
Okay.
Hours of operation are 7 to 5 p.m. Is that Monday through Friday?
De segunda a sexta? Sim.
Monday
Yes,
through
Monday to
Friday. Drop-offs and pickups of children shall be staggered in 15-minute intervals. I think they're gonna need a town inspection. I think that's gonna be required. I'm not sure.
Well, that'd be part of their licensing,
That'd
all
be
right?
part of their licensing. And,
The state's the one that really has to determine if.
the
qualifies.
children shall be dropped off and walked to the front door
By somebody.
by somebody. And I'd also like to suggest, Mr. Chairman, that we have a 1-year review on this petition, just to see, make sure everything's okay.
Sure.
Okay. Excuse me. She has a question. On the summer, normally on summer, they work more. So probably on Saturdays, they wanna somebody to take care of the kids, if that's possible. Just on the summer, not in the winter.
Summertime months include
Summertime.
Saturdays.
Is not sure. She's gonna, if they ask her, can she do it
Just make it Monday to Saturday instead of Monday to Friday.
E acontece, eu tenho que vir de novo.
for summer? If that change, does she need to come back here again and ask to change the time?
Yeah.
So what is that again? We need to do something about hours of operation in the summer months?
They may want Saturday in the summer.
They want to add on Saturday in the summer because they work.
Okay, so in the months of May through September,
Até setembro,
Maybe October.
in May
maio,
through to October,
até outubro.
just Saturdays though, right?
Yeah, Saturday operations. Same hours, same conditions.
Mesmos horários, mesmas condições.
Okay, so everybody's heard the conditions. Does anybody else wish to add anything to that? Hearing none. Is anybody prepared to make a motion? Oh, you have,
You
Mr.
just did,
Igo,
and I'll
seconded by
second
Mr. Martin. All right. Any need for discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of this petition with those stated conditions, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. So it's a 4-0 vote, okay? And what's going to happen is I'll draft up a decision as quick as possible.
Vai fazer a decisão o mais rápido possível. Isso vai
It will
ficar-
then be filed with the town clerk.
ser aprovado para o juiz.
That then has to, when that's filed and assuming there be no appeal within the appeals period of 20 days,
20 dias.
you then have to take the grant down to the Registry of Deeds in Barnstable Village and record it,
Você vai ter que ir na corte
or do it by the mail if you want,
ou por correio. Você vai ter que pagar as papeladas.
and return proof that you've recorded it back to our office, our division administrator, okay? Our board administrator. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate. Have a
Yeah,
nice
good luck with it. Take care of those kids.
sorte. Cuidando das crianças.
All right, brings us to our last, that's petition 4928, Ryan Family Amusements, concerning property located at 1067 Route 28 in South Yarmouth. That's a zoning district B2, and our applicant seeks a special permit pursuant to zoning bylaw 104.3.2.4 and 202.5-N to extend the pre-existing non-conforming entertainment use on this property to an expanded area in the building now leased in its entirety by the applicant. Good evening, gentlemen and lady. And if you would start with the council first and identify yourself, please.
Certainly. Good evening. I'm Marion Rose from Singer and Singer, representing Ryan Family Amusements.
Thank you.
And with me here are Peter Campbell and Billy Campbell. Peter is the manager of Ryan Family Amusements facility at 1067 Route 28. We're here requesting a special permit for the expansion of entertainment uses into the middle section of 1067 Route 28. Ryan Family Amusements has been operating for many, many years, the bowling alley, a party area, food service, and arcades at the site. They've recently taken over the lease for the entire building, and they're expanding the entertainment. They'd like to expand the entertainment use to the central portion of the building, leaving the area formerly used as Daggett's Liquors retail space vacant at present. The footprint of the building will remain unchanged, and all the work that's being done at present is being done limited to the interior of the site. New entertainment uses in the expanded areas would include cornhole and axe throwing. The arcades that are presently offered in the existing space would be moved into the expanded area. There's a party function room that would replace the existing arcade area. On site. There'll be additional bathrooms, a prize booth, and a as-needed service bar will also be located in the expanded area. Under the Yarmouth zoning bylaw, use regulation 202.5N, amusement and recreation services, bowling, amusement arcades, and other miscellaneous amusements and recreational uses may be permitted by special permit granted by the Board of Appeals. Here, the current entertainment uses are pre-existing, non-conforming because in the existing space, no special permits for the existing entertainment uses were secured because the use was in existence prior to the requirement of a special permit. To secure entertainment uses in the expanded area, the applicant must secure approval by special permit of the board for both the arcade use and the miscellaneous amusement and recreational use. The board may grant a special permit if it finds that the proposal will not cause or create or contribute to any undue nuisance, hazard, or congestion, and there will be no substantial harm to the established or future character of the neighborhood or town. We respectfully submit that the proposed and expanded entertainment use complies with the special permit criteria as shown by the following. The proposed expansion of the entertainment use in the central area of the building are contemplated and permittable in the B2 district and are similar in nature to the existing entertainment uses. The two new entertainment uses, cornhole and axe throwing, were granted an entertainment license by the select board recently in the past year. And the liquor license has been approved by the select board and is under review with the Commonwealth at present. The applicant has paid particular attention to the design and safety of the axe throwing venue. The applicants will designate employees to orient players as to the rules and the manner of play, and an assigned employee will monitor play in the area when the games are active. Players will reserve playing time by the hour, and the axe throwing is accessible by one secure entrance and is separated by the rest of the facility by heavy gauge steel dividers. The area will include 4 target lanes and seating for waiting players. The players have to be 18 or older. Active players are separated from other players by a back of lane divider. Only one active player per lane will be allowed in the throwing area at one time. The careful design and construction of this area will ensure that no undue hazard is affected by the community. The expanded entertainment use will be of benefit to the community. The proposed renovations will have no impact on the exterior of the building, and all exterior aspects will remain as they are, with the exception of a proposed change in signage, which will be brought before this board at a later date. And again, all the renovations are interior renovations. There'll be no negative impacts on the water supply or the environment, and no work will be done within sensitive areas on the site, if any. For the above reasons, we ask that the board find that special permit criteria has been met and grant a special permit for the proposed work as shown in the submitted plans.
Thank you. Does anybody on the board have questions of our petitioner? Okay, feel free. Yeah.
The first question is just about parking. How many parking spaces do you have? Are these all now dedicated to, by the way, I had a chance to tour. Mr. Campbell gave me a tour of it, and it looked really nice with what they were doing. So it looks like a nice change. I'm a little concerned about the axe throwing, but you know.
Is that axe or hatchet?
Actually, a hatchet.
Is that?
So is it just like the commercials when Rogers and the quarterbacks are throwing the axes and
Ours is much safer.
okay, that's good. And you got approval from the select board on that one.
We have approval, we have insurance, yes.
God bless you.
Give me that.
So how many, are all the parking spaces in the area are all dedicated to your facility now? Is that correct?
Right.
And do you know how many there are?
We don't, because we actually.
I'll
we
tell you, there's
didn't-
more than enough.
Right.
There's
We
a
know
lot.
that that'll be addressed when there's exterior work to be done. I know this will have to go through site plan review.
I know
And
there's a
we'll look at
lot,
the
but I
parking
just,
there.
the way,
Then, but this is all interior work, and Mark Grills told us that we
I
did
count
not need to go through
66.
site.
Hey, can we get you to go a step further and agree to pave that whole parking lot? Fix the holes?
Don't have to get a lot of questions about that.
You ought to speak to your landlord. It's disgusting. What's been left to go. And every time something comes in here on that plaza, we say the same words and they go to deaf ears. I'll tell you that. It's a shame.
so you don't know how many, I know there's a fair amount,
I
but,
count 66 on the plan.
okay. And that I'm
And some of
assuming,
those are shared with the restaurant, apparently, right?
Yeah, they open at 4 p.m.
okay. I'm assuming that meets the requirement that the town board had, the building board had, is that correct? Is there a requirement for that, for the number of parking spaces?
I
per
don't
facility?
think this has gone to site plan.
It has
review
not gone
yet,
to site plan review,
so
and that would be addressed there.
That would trigger
They'll cover it.
the upgrade requirement if they need to go there. I think essentially what they're doing is just taking what they have and expanding into what has traditionally been a
Right.
business there with Daggett's Liquors. Daggett's moved over to next to Ocean State Job Lot, and they're just expanding into that space right now and taking it over.
Understood. I just want to make sure there's enough parking. That's all. So I guess if we can make a contingent upon the site review, then that's fine. If that's what they go through.
I don't know that they need site plan review right now. I don't think they do. Yeah.
That's correct. We don't, Mark Groves has said that we do not need site
Yeah.
plan review because all the work is interior work at present. Once we do exterior work, or Bryan Family Amusement does exterior work, then that requirement will be triggered.
Then that will be addressed at that time.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my only questions. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I have a couple questions, or comments. The signage isn't changing.
The sign, we will bring that up separately. The
Okay.
signage probably will change. Their plans for the signage to change, but that's not ready.
So if
right
you're
now.
looking for relief on that, you'll be back.
Yes.
Okay.
It's got relief on it.
Yeah, they did, yeah. Again, I think this is enough of expansion or recreational use indoor that I believe we have some clout in being able to ask for some improvements. This particular site, although under the same ownership as the post office building and I guess the restaurant as well, was developed later and did require things that the post office site did not, which is, in other words, are the islands that you see in the middle and a normal buffer in the front. I know there are a few trees in the front, but it does not meet present day requirements. I know there were trees that were planted in the parking islands within the parking lot. Most of those are now gone, if not all. And they were there, they were required when the site was developed and they should be replaced. Same thing goes for the front buffer in my estimation. And I would be asking for that, those improvements to the site. So at least this part of the site can be improved.
Anything else? Anybody else?
I don't have any questions, but just so we're clear, you're just looking to expand the use on the inside, right? You're not
Correct.
looking to do anything on the outside?
Nothing on the outside.
Okay. No, I have no questions. I will make one brief comment that I'm very happy to see that they're expanding that way. I'm glad that that building is not going to be left vacant. I think you're probably the perfect person to do it. You're expanding your business. I know you've been there for a long, long time. I know it's a very popular business with the community. Everybody, I go by there frequently. My family owns property in that area, so I go by quite a bit and
They're right across from the pothole, so where is?
yeah, that's right.
We'll get them
So-
fixed.
But at any rate, no, you've been there for a long time and everybody has a lot of fun over there. So you've done a good job. So I certainly look forward to having you expand into that area. I was happy to read that the selectmen did approve your license for the axe throwing as well as the liquor license. I'm not quite sure how axe throwing, and I had a concern about axe throwing and liquor in the same sentence, but when you showed us exactly how it's going to be controlled, I'm confident that you guys will do a good job. That's all I had. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You know, at every location you guys have ever run, I've always been impressed that it's been enjoyable. The kids enjoy it.
Yep.
They're having fun. And what is to echo what either Dick or Sean just said, that rather see it expanded with fun stuff as opposed to empty
Right.
and rotten away like the bookstore, the old bookshop over
Right.
there, and
Mhm.
the old what was the other one? The Radio
Radio Shack.
Radio Shack. Yeah, I mean those are just sitting vacant. It looks horrible. Looks like a derelict strip mall. But you keep that your end of it pretty well, and thank you
Try.
for that. I don't think that I could get on board with conditions about the parking lot changes. I don't think it's appropriate here because you're doing nothing outside. But
Well, again, if I can just answer that, this was all required when this property was built. It had those buffers and they were planted properly. They are not planted properly anymore.
okay, so would you like to have them replaced?
I would like to
then?
have that added, yeah.
Okay. Well, I suppose I think it was you that once said there's no time like the present.
You got it.
So where is that, Dick? Right out in here?
That'll be the front buffer and those islands you see lateral in the middle. Yeah.
Okay, so these were,
I-
these
If
were.
memory serves me, I think there were like 3 trees in each of those islands as well.
Yeah, they were red maples.
You also had trees.
And I
that
think
would be
maybe
out-
in this other little
not you,
end
but
island here.
The original grant also put trees out along Route 28
Right.
too.
And some of which are still there. There's at least a few there.
Yeah.
That buffer is not bad, right? That one's.
That
that's
one's not
pretty
as bad
green,
as next
yeah.
door, no.
Right.
Yeah.
This one, as I cut through that one all the time as a pedestrian.
Me
Or
too.
run through there. Yeah.
Another place he runs.
Yeah. Well, it's a little cut through, plenty of room to run through there. But no, that looks pretty nice, but we will, we can do the trees there and between the parking.
Yes.
What's your feeling? Dick, is there a particular type of tree, species of tree?
Well,
or
whatever,
size?
to meet code. I mean, a lot of people like to do the pears and as I mentioned before, they're nice trees, but they break a lot. And so any, as Dan had mentioned, plane trees or maple trees or whatever, those are all good trees. And they may, where you put them in the island, they may need protecting because I think you lost some over the years with people banging into them because it's kind of narrow. So they may need a little protection with posts or something around the trunks. But that would do a lot to break up and make this more attractive in general. The building's fine, the use is great, except for axe throwing, but
Per island.
You want to put 4 per island?
I'd like to see 4 per island, yeah.
Okay, we'll put 4 per island.
4 per island and maybe, and I think there had been one in that other little island that it shows at the end of that other, easterly, we'll call it strip of parking as well.
Will somebody smash into that one though?
Well, I don't know.
I
If
don't
there
think
wasn't
that-
one there before, you don't
I
have
don't
to.
think, Mr. Martin, that there was a tree.
Maybe that's
that-
just
yeah.
marked on the pavement,
Yeah.
okay. All right, with the 2 main islands then.
Okay.
And improving the front buffer where that needs to come up to code. So you may need a few there too.
And we had some birch trees out there that we lost during storms. We'll just have to change the type of tree.
Right, I know there was a bird, at least,
There were 2, yeah.
but it may need a couple more there too.
So a couple other trees in the main one then.
I'm a little confused as to what does improve the buffer mean? Put more trees in?
2 trees in the main buffer along 28.
But there are trees that are still out there, aren't there?
Right.
There's a couple there, but they don't meet,
Is it just 2 trees?
they've lost some trees too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they'd all be at least 3-inch caliber, would they?
Yes.
How are you going to irrigate those?
We have
It's
irrigation.
there.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Okay. So you got those 2 conditions, yes? You written them down? Okay, so the 2 conditions that I've heard are 4 3-inch caliper trees in each island, interior parking lot island, and 2 additional trees on the front scape, okay?
Makes me
Does
happy.
anybody in our audience care to, I haven't gotten there yet. Does anybody in our audience care to speak in favor of the petition? Does anyone care to speak in opposition to it? Well, the room's just about empty, so we can assume now that that's the end of public commentary, unless somebody's
No,
on the
You
line.
had someone raise their
Someone
hand.
online.
Let me let her
Go
in.
ahead. Why don't we invite them in?
In. Audrey
Audrey?
Burns.
She's muted.
Audrey, can you unmute yourself?
I did. Can you hear me now?
Now we can, yes.
Okay. Sorry, we're across the street behind McDonald's. We love Ryan. They do a great job, all the kids, and we're very much in favor of it. My only concern, and I'm not sure if this is the right place, is when we come out of Forest Road, we already have a hard time sometimes in the summer taking a left to go down towards the plaza. who do we bring that up to? It's gonna get worse with there's more at Ryan, obviously.
State of Massachusetts.
Boy, yeah, you can, if you're talking a curb cut on 28, it's going to
Just,
be.
no, just like a left-hand turn signal, so you can take a left.
Oh, yeah, but it's on
Mass-
28.
Mass
That's all
dot.
controlled by Mass Department of Highways.
Mass dot?
Yeah, Department of
Do
Transportation.
they do an impact study?
Okay, so that's where I have to go?
Call up your state representative.
You see, Yarmouth has no control over 28
Okay.
in terms of the surface or
Yeah.
curb cuts or the like.
I just know with more traffic there, Dunkin' Donuts is already bad, but adding more traffic, I was just a little worried about that. But they do a great job at Ryan.
I think we concur. Thank you so very much for chiming in and waiting so long.
Oh, no problem. Go have dinner.
You have a pleasant night. Now, is
You
there
too.
anything else that it cares to speak in favor or against on the Zoom conferencing?
Seeing none.
Okay, so with that, we close it to the public commentary and input. We open it up to board discussion, deliberations. We've talked about 2 conditions. Is anybody prepared to make a motion? Well, wait a minute. Let's have a little dialogue, Mr. Igo. Tell us all about the special permit criteria.
Well, I think they meet the criteria of the special permit. It's an extension, I think, of the
Right.
existing special permit. I think they met it before. I think they meet it tonight. I don't think there'll be any undue hazard, nuisance, or congestion, or degradation from the purpose and intent of the bylaw. And, I think it's a great addition. Like we said before, we certainly don't want a vacant property there. They're the natural person to move into that. They provide a service that everybody likes and that the public demands, and it's great for our tourism as well. And we're a tourist area, and we need services and entertainment venues like they have, and it's certainly a benefit to the town, and I think it'll continue to be a benefit.
I grew up on bowling alleys in downtown Hyannis, and when I was there, it kept me off the street as a kid.
Which was a
I
good
think
thing.
that serves this purpose here too, that we get a fun thing for children and adults to do together or apart.
Yeah.
I know that families go in there in your location. I've done it with my own family, and it's very well run. Except I never get enough tickets out of the arcade.
Point
All
of
right,
order.
anybody else want to say anything, or can we go to a motion?
Point of order. I believe that there was not a special permit granted for the existing entertainment use. It would have been had they asked for one, but it was existing prior to the requirement for a
It'll be
special
new
permit.
Special permit.
New special
So,
permit.
so this is a new special
Okay,
permit.
thank you for correcting
Sure.
me. Okay.
I'd like to make a motion
Please.
to approve with the conditions stated.
Okay.
And second?
Second.
On the motion so made, seconded with the stated conditions, does the board care to have any discussion before moving along to a vote? And hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 That carries unanimously. I'll look forward to a draft decision.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good
board.
night.
Right, thank you.
We have minutes to go over. Has everybody had the opportunity? Because our administrator is so good. She gets all of these to us in advance. And they cover several meetings, and it's August 12th, August 26th, September 8th, and December 9th.
Move that we approve the minutes.
Has everybody had a chance to read them and consider them?
Yep.
All right. Mr. Igo moves, and you can just make note of that. Okay, Selena? Mr. Igo moves, Mr. Frapery seconds, and with respect to that motion so made and seconded, all those in favor of approving the minutes as they are, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
That carries unanimously.
Move
And
to
with that, we
adjourn.
move to adjourn. Thank you.
Hey.
Okay, that was very good.
Are the mics still on?
No, turn those mics up. They're hot.